You post a tweet, maybe a quick TikTok, a comment on Facebook. You think it's no big deal, right? Just fleeting thoughts out in the ether. But what if that one post could cost you your house or even your entire career? Well, today we're diving headfirst into the pretty explosive world of social media defamation, where, as you're about to see, online words have some seriously staggering real-world consequences. Okay, let's just start with a number. And it's a number that's so big, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around it. $1.5 billion. That is the jaw-dropping amount that conspiracy theorist Alex Jones was ordered to pay for the lies he spread online about the Sandy Hook tragedy. I mean, this is one of the biggest defamation verdicts in American history. And the whole thing, it all started with just words on the internet. And of course, who could forget the trial that, let's be honest, captivated the entire world? $10.35 million. That was the final judgment handed to Johnny Depp in his huge defamation case against Amber Heard. And it was a verdict that, you really can't deny it, was massively shaped by the court of public opinion online. You see, that whole trial, it really played out in two different arenas. You had the actual courtroom, and then you had, well, here, on social media. Just look at TikTok. The hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp, it didn't just get more views, it was a complete avalanche. We're talking over 21 billion views. The other hashtag, it barely even made a dent in comparison. This shows you it wasn't just a legal fight, it was a full-on war for public perception, and it was waged on a scale that we have literally never seen before. So, what do those numbers really tell us? Well, for one thing, that old saying, what happens online stays online, yeah, that's completely dead. We're now in an age where viral lies have very real and, as we've just seen, very expensive consequences in the real world. So that begs the question, right? What's the real difference between just, a simple insult and a multi-million-dollar lawsuit? Turns out there's a very specific legal line you have to cross. So let's break down exactly what that line is. Okay, so if you're going to win a defamation case, it's not enough to prove just one or two of these things. No, you have to prove all five. It all kicks off with a false statement of fact. Then that statement has to be published, which on social media is super easy. It just means one other person saw it. That's it. Then the person has to be identifiable, their reputation has to be harmed, and the very last piece of the puzzle is fault. You got to prove the poster was at the very least negligent. Now, this next part, this is where so many people get tripped up. It's this super blurry line between what's a fact and what's an opinion. Look, calling a restaurant terrible, that's your opinion. You're protected. But saying it failed its health inspection, that's a claim of fact. But here's the real danger zone, and I want you to pay attention to this. Just adding the words "I think" doesn't automatically give you a free pass. A court can look at a statement like, "I think John hit his wife," and decide, you know what, that's not really an opinion. That's implying a fact. And that is an absolutely critical distinction. And these basic legal ideas, they've been around for centuries. But the minute you apply them to the internet, well, it becomes a whole new ballgame. Let's dig into exactly why social media makes this stuff so much more dangerous. It really boils down to a combination of three things that just act like pouring gasoline on a fire. First, you've got incredible speed and reach. A lie can literally go global in minutes. Second, you have anonymity, which makes a lot of people feel like they can be way more cruel than they would be in person. And finally, there's permanence, because let's face it, thanks to screenshots, even a deleted post can live on forever. All right, now we've got to talk about what is arguably the single most important law governing the internet today. It's called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And in a nutshell, it's a massive legal shield for the platforms. So, what does all that legal jargon actually mean for you and me? Well, think about it like this. A newspaper, right? It's legally responsible for every single letter to the editor it prints. But Section 230 treats platforms like Facebook and X more like a telephone company. They own the wires, but they aren't responsible for the conversations that happen on those wires. The bottom line is, you can sue the person who posted the comment, but you almost never can sue the platform itself. This Elon Musk case is a perfect real-world example of how the whole context of social media can change everything. So remember the Thai cave rescue? Well, during that, Elon Musk called one of the rescuers a pedo guy on Twitter. The rescuer, obviously, sued for defamation. But here's the twist. The jury decided that, in the context of a heated, super casual Twitter argument, a reasonable person wouldn't actually take that as a literal statement of fact. They'd see it for what it was, a childish insult. That verdict really shined a light on how the informal, kind of chaotic nature of these platforms can seriously influence a legal outcome. Okay, I know hearing all this can feel pretty overwhelming, but let's bring it back down to earth. What if this actually happens to you? It's time to get practical, because what you do in the very first hour after you find out, well, it can literally make or break your entire case. In fact, legal experts have a name for it. They call it the golden hour. And it's a lot like in emergency medicine. Your actions in those first 60 minutes are absolutely 100% critical. This is your one and only window to preserve the evidence before it potentially vanishes forever. So before we even get to what you should do, let's talk about what you absolutely should not do. Rule number 1, do not respond publicly. Your gut will tell you to fight back, but getting into a comment war just signals to the algorithm that this post is super engaging, and guess what? It's going to show it to even more people. Second, don't contact the poster directly. That can just escalate things and, even worse, tip them off to delete all the evidence. And finally, and this is a big one, don't rush to hit that report button. Not yet. You have to document everything first. So what does proper documentation even look like? Well, it definitely starts with a screenshot, but I'm not talking about just cropping the comment itself. You need the entire browser window, URL, timestamp, all of it. Then you gotta go deeper. Save the page's source code. Use a web archiving service like archive.org to create a record that nobody can argue with. And finally, you need witnesses. Find people who saw the post live and get their statements. What you're doing here is building a fortress of evidence. All right, so once you've built that fortress of evidence, what's next? Well, now you've got options, and it's not always about jumping straight into a massive, expensive lawsuit. Let's take a look at the full legal toolkit, which ranges from, a simple warning shot all the way to an all-out courtroom battle. See, filing a lawsuit is just one tool in the kit, and honestly, it's often not the first one you'll reach for. You might start with something called a cease and desist letter, or if the person is anonymous, you could subpoena the platform to unmask them. You can even work with search engines to get the nasty stuff de-indexed so it doesn't show up anymore. The point is, there are a whole bunch of different paths to get to a resolution. But here's the crucial thing for everyone to remember. No matter which side of this you're on, the stakes are incredibly high. For both sides. A single, careless, thoughtless post has the power to absolutely wreck lives, careers, and bank accounts. And not just for the victim, but for the person who hit send, too. So after all that, let's just boil it down. What are the most critical takeaways here? First, that golden hour we talked about is everything. Document it all, right away. Second, fight that instinct to engage publicly. It only makes things worse. Third, remember that the legal bar is really high. You have to prove all 5 of those elements. And finally, don't forget that a lawsuit isn't your only weapon. You have a lot of options. And all of this really leaves us with a huge lingering question, doesn't it? We all value free speech. Of course we do. But we also have a fundamental right to protect our reputations from completely false attacks. So in this crazy new digital world we live in, where a single lie can reach millions of people in a blink of an eye, finding the right balance between those two things, well, that might be one of the greatest challenges we're facing today.